So yes, I think Edward Scissorhands was on the Inchmel spectrum. So this is part two. Just to recap, this woman who has some serious enabling and codependency issues decides to try to sell makeup in this really creepy castle and finds like a bird nest in the fireplace and is like, oh, someone lives here. Oh, wow, who are you? Where are your parents? Maybe you should come stay with me and my teenage daughter. Who, by the way, when he sees the photo of the teenage daughter, that's it. He's in love. Doesn't know her. Doesn't matter. She's pretty. He's a man with zero social skills. No hands, no friends. Was probably made by his Inchmel daddy to keep him company, or maybe even some more twisted things. This super selfish, egomaniacal genius, lonely old man, with nothing better to do, created a person with knife fingers and unleashed him onto the world with no social skills. And what's the very first thing he does? Fall in love with a blonde teenage girl. Now, ever since I made this last video, I've been finding out more and more about Tim Burton, and like, I hate that dude even more now. Seems to be obsessed with blonde teenage girls. The fact that he turned, what he did with the Addams Family reboot, the dude sounds like an Inchmel, just an old one. And by Inchmel, I mean total loser who feels entitled to women's bodies just by the fact that they're a loser, and we should feel sorry for them, and that somehow pitying a man is enough, which is what this whole story is about. True love is not about feeling seen, being respected, feeling heard, growing love between two people who are self-actualized. And no, not for women. Women, it's dating a violent jock who also hates women, but actually gets women, and also has some serious daddy issues. I swear, the main villain of this whole movie is dads and the women who enable them, but mostly dad. Everything this guy did was because he hated his dad. Now, the women in this film were not much better, besides the mother who put Freddy Krueger in her teenage daughter's bedroom, didn't tell her about it. She came home and was undressing and found him. And then the mom's like, you scared him half to death, and tried to make her feel like a bad person for questioning her mom's terrible judgment and putting her in danger. Oh, and then made her, after that whole thing, go downstairs and introduce herself to him. And by the way, he was drunk because her dad sucks so much, talks about her boobs, how teenage girls are crazy, and then gets this man completely wasted. But besides all that, the women in this movie are not any better than the men. They may not be as violent, but the white women do their white woman thing. Calling the cops, shaming each other, purity culture, blah, blah, blah. All the stuff we do that we're raised to do to keep patriarchy and white supremacy and capitalism running. But in this movie, because it's by Tim Burton, he's just like, God, these women, all they do is gossip. He made them the villain, which they can be, what we can be, right? But no context. All of them seem to want to bone Freddy Krueger here, especially this lady who is a straight up predator. Now, it's not very often that I call women predators because of patriarchy, unless they actually have power by a serious age gap, money, if they're the boss or whatever, then women can absolutely be predators. But in general, you know that men are usually the predators, right? But this lady straight up essays him. I mean, everything she does is to seduce this man. I mean, right out of the gate, one of the first scenes, she's trying to fork the like dishwasher repairman. Now, we don't ever get any context as to why she's such a corny little bird. Probably because her husband sucks. And like most women who are trapped in this situation, they're bored. Not excusing her behavior, but all these women are straight up villains with not much context. All of the men are just passive, do, blah. And the women are the active villains. And I kind of have a problem with that, but I digress. But she invites him to her little hair salon, is like, would you like me to model this stuff for you? And he's like, okay. And then she hits the sultry music. And much like a child, because Edward is kind of like a child, even though he's an adult body, he does not have the emotional intelligence, maturity of an adult man. So this whole scene is so messed up. It is very predatory. And she's all like, she's like, I've been waiting for this moment for so long. She takes his knife fingers and pops open her shirt. Now, Edward is very freaked out and gets out of there. But even as far as she went is obviously problematic. But you know what? The movie doesn't really address that. Because again, under toxic masculinity, men don't take their own essay seriously. Edward hardly says more. I bet if you counted how many words this man said in the whole movie, it was like maybe 70, He's always like, no, because I want to. Or like just nothing. The guy does not have communication skills. He doesn't even know probably what consent means. And so when he flees the place and goes to meet up with the family and tells them, yeah, she took me to the back room and took her clothes off, it's just an awkward silence. They don't actually deal with it. Why isn't the mom more upset? Why didn't the dad? The dad literally ignored it. He didn't even respond or react. But the mom is as good at protecting Edward as she is at protecting her daughter. She sucks. And if this woman couldn't suck anymore, she's all like, you can't do that to me. You can't do that. And later on is going to tell the whole neighborhood that he's a rapist, an almost rapist. Now, we never really see any meaningful interaction between Edward and this woman that he's so in love with. All we see is him being jealous of her with her boyfriend. Like when he sees them in public, he's like, I don't know what that guy's doing, but I want to do that. This movie did a terrible job at convincing me that this is a love story, because later on he's on TV, for all of the dog hair grooming stuff he's doing. And she's watching it with her boyfriend and her brother. And when one of the ladies in the audience is like, do you have a girlfriend, Edward? Boyfriend makes fun of her being like, yeah, hey, Kim, right? And the brother does too. And Edward just stares at the TV in a really creepy way like, it's you, Kim, it's you, right? She's like, maybe it's true. Why does she still can't figure out why she loves him? Why is she falling in love with him? They have literally not even had a real conversation, but okay. Oh, I know. Women are supposed to just love men who love us first. Being picked is enough, but also when they get hurt, like when Edward got electrocuted on stage and her D-bag boyfriend and brother are like, hey, she's like, why are you laughing? He got hurt. I love him, probably. Seriously, y'all, the only reason why we're supposed to believe that she loved him is because we feel sorry for Edward and he keeps getting hurt and screwed over by men. So, of course, his prize is this beautiful teenage girl. And then her D-bag boyfriend's like, hey, talk your Freddy Krueger guy into helping me break into the house because I want a van with a mattress in the back so that we can brown chicken brown count all the time. And she's like, that's not fair. I don't want to do that. And he's like, come on. And she's like, okay. So, shocker, that doesn't go over well. And they have to leave Edward. And she's like, go back. And he's like, no. She's like, yes. And he's like, no, my dad will have me arrested. He won't have his son arrested. Of course he will. Again, his dad hates him. He hates his dad. And everyone in this town pays the price. He almost got shot because of this. But thank God for this man. This is the only respectable man in this whole movie. I mean, we feel sorry for Edward. It's not Edward's fault he's this way. But basically, the only man with a backbone in this whole movie is this man, who unfortunately is a cop. He seems to be the only one who really cares about Edward. But unlike the teenage girl, he's not forced to actually, end up wanting to fork him, because that's what women are here for, right? Men that we empathize for, they deserve the bodies of women. So then she gets home. She's like, why'd you do it? Because you asked me to. I knew it was that douchebag, but I did anyway because I love you, but I don't know why. And then this D-bag comes over and interrupts her conversation. And this is where scary Edward comes out. In smell in the making, Edward. I understand his anger, but still don't think that she should have to sleep with him because he's a frustrated Inchmel in the making. I mean, this whole scene tears up the hallway, the entire bathroom wallpaper scene. This look is terrifying. He's like, and then the next day he's sad man cutting roses, and she's like, I think I love him. Then he does this ice sculpture thing, and she's like, yes. Snow. Seriously, I remember this scene more than anything from the movie. Is this like Frozen come? You know what I mean? Like, this scene is so schmexual without it being schmexual. It's really him just being angry and tearing up ice. And then, oops, I cut you. I was just so mad. Dad's on the roof, doesn't seem to notice or care. Passive forker. Edward goes and makes some demonic stuff, slashes tires, tears up his sculpture. And Karen's all like, hey, this is like almost propaganda, honestly. Because I really like this guy. Anyway, Edward comes back. She's like, help me. He has a memory of Daddy and how he messed up the hand. Accidentally almost kills the little brother. Ends up in a fight with the dude. She's all like, leave him alone or I'll kill you myself. And then Edward kills him. She's like, I love you. And he's like, bye. Now, this is a part that pisses me off. This whole thing is her telling this grandchild. It's like, you can still go visit. She's like, no, I'm old. Edward only likes teenagers. He's up there doing his obsessing about me, though he doesn't even know me. How is this a love story? She never loved Freddy Krueger. Oh!